Dawn was a slow blush over the upscale streets of Davis Islands. Katherine Brown's running shoes whispered against the pavement as she turned the final corner. There it was, her pride, her sanctuary. The white walls of her Mediterranean-style home caught the first true light, its terracotta roof tiles warm as embers. Vivid bougainvillea spilled over the garden wall. The sight, as always, filled her with a quiet, profound satisfaction. This house was the emblem of everything she'd built since Harvard: a thriving dental practice, a curated life. Post-run, the shower was a ritual of renewal. She dressed with practiced care, a crisp white dress, a single strand of pearls. In the sun-drenched kitchen, she found Michael on the terrace, silhouetted against the bay, immaculate in his Brooks Brothers suit, a Rolex glinting at his wrist. He was the picture of the successful real estate agent. Morning, Kathy. Beating the sun again. I see. Force of habit. Big closing today? Today's the day, he said, his smile a flash of practiced confidence. But his eyes, she noted, didn't quite meet hers. They skittered away. Restless. Stress, she told herself. Just the pressure of the deal. Her world at South Tampa Dental Care was one of orderly precision. Her morning passed in a familiar rhythm of gentle care and meticulous hygiene. During her lunch break, the illusion was shattered. Her sister, Jennifer, appeared unannounced. A storm of logos, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, improbably funded by a part-time beautician's wages. Kathy, I need to talk. It's urgent. Jennifer's voice had a wheedling edge that had become too familiar. Inside the private consult room, the request came. $50,000. I'll pay it back immediately. Jenny, you haven't repaid the $30,000 from last month. We're family. You have to help. The voice from the doorway wasn't Jennifer's. Michael stood there, his presence suddenly filling the small room. There was a strange, charged desperation in his tone that chilled her more than the request itself. That night, as Katherine packed for the Florida Dental Association conference, a cold thread of unease wove through her. She dismissed it. The house, her practice, they were in good hands, weren't they? On the second evening of the conference, the thread pulled taut. During a lecture on implant innovations, a wave of pure dread washed over her. The presenter's voice faded to a distant hum. Her hands trembled as she checked her silent phone. No messages, no calls. The silence was a scream. She excused herself, hailed a taxi. Davis Islands, she said, and the familiar address tasted like ash. The journey was a blur. The magnificent bridge over Tampa Bay, the glittering skyline, all seemed drained of color. As the taxi neared her street, the world shifted into a sinister key. The gates were shut. A stranger in a polo shirt emblazoned with Elite Guard Services stood sentry. Good evening, I'm Katherine Brown, the homeowner. The guard, Mike Patterson, his tag read, wore an expression of polite implacability. I'm sorry, ma'am, access is denied. The property has new ownership. Her mind whited out. That's impossible. Here is my ID. Our instructions are clear. The owner is no longer K. Brown. Then, she saw them. Through the great window, golden light spilled out, framing two figures in an obscene celebration. Michael, in his best suit, and Jennifer, in a triumphant slash of red silk. They clinked glasses of Dom Perignon, her birthday champagne. Michael was on the phone, nodding vigorously. Jennifer turned, looked directly toward the gate, and offered a slow, venomous smile before draining her glass. Fragments of their conversation, cruel and clear, carried on the salt-tinged air. Buyer is satisfied. Now that perfect sister of hers can't look down on us anymore. A terrifying clarity descended. Katherine's trembling stopped. She raised her phone and began to document it all. The guard, the gates, the victory party within. Each photo was a time-stamped piece of evidence. I understand. Thank you, she said, her voice unnervingly steady. She returned to the waiting taxi. The Vinoy Renaissance Hotel. Please, quickly. As they pulled away, her home shrank in the rearview mirror, its white walls stained crimson by the dying sun. The bougainvillea seemed to weep. This was not a moment for despair. It was a moment for strategy. In the taxi, she began to plan. In her suite overlooking the dark expanse of Tampa Bay, Katherine logged into her bank. The breath left her lungs. $2. $5 million reduced to a pitiful $20,000. The transfers pointed to Tampa Luxury Properties LLC. She knew that name now. She called the one person she trusted, Joseph Stern. "Please, tell him it's Martha Anderson's daughter." Within the hour, she was in his high-rise office, a fortress of law above the city. Joseph, a man with the calm of a deep ocean, was already in motion. "The property registry," he said, pulling it up. "The sale was dated today. Price, 30% below market. Seller's signature, a clumsy forgery of her own. This is fraud. A swift, professional fraud." His fingers flew across the keyboard, initiating a dozen counter-attacks, police reports, emergency injunctions, bank investigations. They were thorough. He continued, pulling up records. "Tampa Luxury Properties was formed last month. The managing member?" He turned the screen. "Michael Brown. This was their fourth such acquisition. Your home was not a crime of passion. It was a business plan." Katherine felt the anger crystallize into something hard and sharp. "They made one mistake, Katherine," Joseph said, his eyes grave but intent. "What?" "They underestimated you. They left a witness, and they left you angry. Now, let's use it." Outside, a storm gathered over the bay. The first low rumble of thunder echoed the new resolve settling in Katherine's heart. The battle for her life had just begun. Joseph didn't pull out a law book. He simply steepled his fingers, his voice a low, steady certainty. "Under Florida statute, a forged spousal signature on a deed is not just invalid, it's felony fraud. Your photos are our first strike." Their celebration was their confession. As if on cue, Katherine's phone lit up. "Michael." Then Jenny. The screen pulsed with their panic. "They know the ground is shifting," Joseph observed, not looking at the phone. "We move now. I'll have the temporary restraining order filed by dawn. It freezes the transaction and their accounts. Your signature on these," he said, sliding a stack of documents toward her, "is the counterattack." Katherine signed, her pen strokes firm. The anger was no longer a hot chaos. It was a cold, focused fuel. "There is a complication," Joseph added, selecting his words with surgical care. He presented a new document. "Tampa Luxury Properties is a shell. The money trails lead to a holding company in the Bahamas. If it crosses that border before we lock it down, recovery becomes a labyrinth." Katherine's knuckles went white around her coffee cup. The battle had just found its true horizon. Back at the Vinoy, in the hollow quiet of her suite, Katherine toweled her hair and watched the missed calls accumulate, a digital siege. She let them ring. A knock shattered the silence. Sharp, desperate. "Kathy, please, open the door." "Jenny." A lower, strained voice followed. "We need to talk. Please, Michael." Katherine moved to the peephole. The figures in the elegant hallway were ghosts of the triumphant pair from her window, drenched by the storm. Jenny's red dress was a sad crimson smear, her mascara bleeding. Michael's tailored suit was a wrinkled sack. His confidence dissolved into a palpable, shaking fear. She opened the door. "Come in." They stumbled past her, dripping onto the plush carpet, bringing the smell of rain and desperation. "Towels are there," she said, her own calm a strange, distant thing. Jenny clutched a towel, sobbing into it. Michael stood swaying, unable to meet her gaze. "Explain this." Katherine's voice was quiet as she turned her laptop screen toward them. The forged deed, the eviscerated bank statement glowed in the dim room. "The dam broke. It was the gambling, the online tables. I couldn't stop." Jenny wept. The words gulped between hiccuping cries. "I owed so much, they were threatening me." Michael's head hung. "My business, it's been a facade for 2 years. The cars, the watch, all leased. The debt is systemic." He finally looked up, his eyes hollow. "We were drowning. Kathy. The LLC, it was a way out. They buy low, sell high. We get a cut to silence our debts. You were supposed to be away. We thought we had time to fix it before you." "Fix it?" The word hung in the air, sharp as broken glass. "You sold my life to fix your lies." "The buyer," Michael whispered, terror clawing his voice. "If we don't deliver, there's a $300,000 penalty. And these people, they don't sue. They end things. You have to help us. You're the only one who can." Katherine walked to the window, her back to them. The city lights bled through the rain-streaked glass. She thought of the dream she'd built here, the shared laughter, the supposed solidarity. It had all been built on a foundation of sand they were now begging her to rebuild. She turned. The grief was there. A vast, cold ocean inside her, but on its surface was absolute calm. "Do you understand?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper yet filling the room. "You didn't just steal a house. You murdered every truth we ever shared. You turned my family into a crime scene." Jenny's sobs hitched. Michael stared, paralyzed. Katherine picked up her phone. The screen, preloaded with Joseph's instructions and a direct line to a detective he'd alerted, glowed in her hand. "No, Kathy, she's your sister," Jenny shrieked. Michael lurched toward the door, a final, frantic bolt for freedom. He yanked it open. 2 Tampa PD officers filled the doorway, their postures all professional expectancy. Joseph Stern worked fast. The click of the handcuffs was a profoundly final sound. Katherine watched as they were led away, her husband, her sister, their forms shrinking down the garish hallway. The memories, a wedding kiss, a childhood secret shared under blankets, flashed and then guttered out, leaving only the stark, unadorned present. Alone, the silence rushed back in. She sat on the edge of the bed. A single, hot tear escaped, tracking down her cheek. It was not for them. It was for the woman she was an hour ago, who still believed in the ghost of that family. That woman was gone. 1 year later. The Sunday morning sun gilded the dew on her lawn. At the security panel, Katherine pressed her thumb. A soft chime confirmed, system disarmed. "Welcome home, Dr. Anderson." Her run was the same route, but the world was different. The bougainvillea blazed a triumphant pink. The white walls of her house, reclaimed through a long, legal war, glowed with a clean light. The new nameplate by the door, Katherine Anderson, DMD, was a declaration carved in brass. "Morning, Dr. Anderson." The Thompsons, her neighbors, waved. Their solidarity, expressed in weekly cookies and unwavering kindness, had been a balm. Back in her sun-drenched kitchen, a letter waited beside the fresh coffee. The third one. Jennifer Anderson, Jacksonville. Dear Katherine. Today I finished the residential program. I'm working as a peer counselor now. It turns out my rock bottom makes a useful map for others. I still can't forgive myself, and I don't expect you to, but I am grateful, every day, that you stopped us. You were the only one strong enough to break the fall. I am learning, slowly, to live an honest day. With love, that I have no right to offer. Jenny. The doorbell chimed. Her parents, George and Martha, arrived for their standing Sunday breakfast. Her father with bagels, her mother with jam and a steady, quiet gaze that had seen her through the worst of it. Over coffee, her mother mentioned. Joseph Stern called. They're starting a group for the victims of that fraud scheme. A place to talk. I'll go, Katherine said, without hesitation. Her parents shared a look of proud, pained understanding. Later, in the garden, they planted new roses. Her father turned the earth. Her mother patted soil around tender roots. It was quiet, healing work. You know, her mother said softly, trowel in hand. You have your grandmother's strength, the kind that bends but never breaks. Katherine looked up, squinting at the vast Florida sky. I learned it from you. That afternoon, in her study, she reviewed notes for an upcoming lecture. She added a line. Resilience isn't about avoiding the break. It's about the meticulous, courageous work of reassembling the pieces into something new. At dusk, she secured netting around the young roses, protection for fragile, growing things. The garden lights flickered on. Crickets began their evening song. Tomorrow held her clinic, the new support group, and a reply to Jenny's letter. It was not a life she had envisioned, but it was hers, earned back acre by bloody acre. She touched the cool brass of her nameplate before going inside. It was no longer just a name, it was a testament. This, she thought, the scent of damp earth and night blooms filling the air, is where the new story begins.